Hello everyone, good afternoon. Today we're going to talk about students' learning freedom and its effect on their comprehension of a science concept. So the introduction is, now, necessity is the mother of innovation. In today's global culture of 21st century, where everything seems to constantly change towards globalization and technology and advancement, there is a need to prepare students to be equipped with necessary skills so that they will be able to cope with the challenges that will nonetheless emerge as a result of these changes. So the 21st century skills, there are four, and they are thinking skills, communication skills, working skills, and surviving skills. They are all equally important. Nevertheless, in the context of learning a science concept, thinking skills have to be developed in students' learning process, which is seen to be a lifelong process. This enables them to continue to be independently progressive in discovering information and form their own learning styles in order to better understand or comprehend of any scientific concept and the content itself.
Okay, thank you, Shara. Now I will presenting on the freedom of learning and why does it matters. The freedom of learning is our highlighted topic today, and it is referred to students' learning processes which are directly affected by their own learning styles. And is also written by Gu in his writing that students can choose appropriate learning method to meet their own needs. This is because in an innovative instruction or creative teaching strategies, it is important for a teacher to let the students to choose their own learning styles so that creative learning can be fostered and then improving students' understanding or comprehension on a concept of subject matter, especially science. Here, look at this conceptual framework. Creative teaching and creative learning act as mediators that mediate students' learning freedom to reach its final goal. That is the enhancement in students' comprehension of science concept. Therefore, it is important for a teacher to devise his or her instructional contents, designs, and presentations in ways that are able to meet the needs of students with different thinking and learning styles. In other words, preparing the various ways of delivering the content. Furthermore, every student possess different level of intellectual abilities, or known as multiple intelligence (MI), which is proposed by Gardner in 1983 in his book Frames of Mind. Uh, and freedom of learning is referring to these two elements, learning styles and multiple intelligence, which is learning style is student preferred way of processing new information for efficient learning. And multiple intelligence is the different profiles of intellectual strengths or competence. And these are the examples of learning style, which is some students may prefer to visually learn the subject or orally or by reading or by doing something or kinesthetic. And these are the types of intelligence or multiple intelligence, which is comprised of 9 profiles of intellectual strengths or competence, which first one is musical, logical, mathematical, existential, interpersonal, bodily kinesthetic, linguistic, intrapersonal, spatial, and naturalist. And these are some examples of role models which we know maybe like Darwin, Beethoven, Mrs. Sterling, Albert Einstein, Bill Gates, and J.K. Rowling. And next, I will pass to Sharanya to present. Okay.
Okay, diving deeper into the models and strategies, but we will first start with the model. The model of this topic is brain-based learning, which is developed by Eric Jensen in 1983. It is basically known as the recognition of the brain codes for a meaningful learning and the art of adjusting the teaching process in relation to these codes involved. So this learning can basically be expedited or make it fast and improve if educators construct how and what they teach on the science of learning rather than relying on past conventional educational practices. In other words, they are saying that if the teacher knows about the students and their capabilities and their capacities in how to attain a model or a concept of science, and then the teacher does or do something about it, then it works wonders. So, since this model is associated with the brain, which is important in this topic, so we have to dive into the brain lateralization. There are two hemispheres. One is the left, which is responsible for analytical and verbal skills, such as reading, writing, mathematical calculations. While on the other hand, the right hemisphere is the source of spatial and artistic kinds of intelligence involving creativity and imagination. So it is said that this model implies 12 substantial principles, and these are very important principles if you're going to look, yes. So brain, number one, brain is a parallel processor. Okay, it is designed in such a way that it enables one to maximize brain power in using both of its left and right hemispheres. So that means full potential of a person is attainable. Okay, number two is learning engages the entire physiology. Three, the search for meaning is innate. That means it is a continuous process. Four, the search for meaning occurs through patterning. Five, emotions are critical to patterning. Six, every brain simultaneously perceives and creates parts and wholes. You know, we have to remember that our brain doesn't relax. It is always working, okay? Number seven is learning involves both focused attention and peripheral attention. Eight, learning always involves conscious and unconscious processes. Well, when you talk about conscious and unconscious processes, you will always be will be reminded, you know, when we are sleeping, that's when our subconscious mind plays this kind of thing. So that proves that our brain does not really rest, or in the sense that it doesn't stop working at night, that kind of thing, you know. So number nine, spatial and rote learning are two types of memory systems. 10, the brain understands and remembers best when facts and skills are embedded in natural spatial memory. 11, learning is enhanced by challenge and inhibited by threat. Okay, this is very common among us, like, you know, when we are doing our project paper, there's a due date, you know, and there's a challenge. We learn, we have to do it, and we'll move forward, this kind of thing. So number 12, every brain is uniquely configured. And this is nothing new. Everyone knows about this, all right? So now, all these principles actually suggest that effective learning could only occur through practicing real life experiences. If you can remember, most of the things that you remember, you know, that you can recall, is basically because you have an experience that is attached to it. Okay, not denying that there are some things that you memorize and all that, but the most, you know, the most thing that you can remember really well is because there's an experience behind it, right? So there are examples of innovative and creative teaching strategies for students learning freedom. Now, it requires teachers' knowledge and creativity, such as illustration for educational comics and animations. This is where, when you see in books, some books, they have this, you know, like kind of like mini drawings, you know, to explain such things, right? And next is 3D printing. Third is experiential learning. This is where the experiences comes into place. And the fourth is learning while playing, gamification. And many children, many students, they love this kind of things, okay? So for the example in depth, now we are talking about pressure. Look at this picture. There's this stick man who's actually diving, right? It shows bubbles at different ocean depths. The increasing ocean depth, when the stickman goes deeper, if you notice, the water pressure increases. What happens to the bubble? The bubble size decreases. All right, so with this picture illustration, you know, common people or students who are having difficulty in reading and understanding, when they look at this picture, they understand better. Even normal people, when they see this, it's very comprehensive. Anyone can understand, you know, if there's proper labeling and all that.
Yeah.
Right? And there's another thing that you can actually do. If the teachers prefers to make it a field trip, they can take the students to actually go and dive. Of course there must be some proper training and all that. If not, you're committing suicide. But yeah, we have these kind of things that provides experiences for these students to actually go through and understand the concept even better. Okay, next. Now, if you look at this example, this is part of gamification where students have choices to choose. When the teacher gives question like this online, the students will be able to choose. For example, the bubble size influenced by, okay, there are 3 multiple choices. The student is free to choose ocean depth or pressure. Both are correct answers. If the student chooses types of water, then it's going to be wrong. The theory involved. The theory involved is constructivism. It is basically known as a psychological and philosophical perspective, contending that individuals form or construct much of what they learn and understand. All right. It highlights the integrated curriculum and having teachers use material in such a way that learners become actively involved. Okay. If you see the screen, it says that it is an integrated curriculum. That means the teacher can also integrate other subjects, like geography or science into one particular subject, that explains both worlds together, right? It provides a supportive environment, the learning environment, you prepare a proper learning environment that can challenge and construct students' thinking and understanding. And my last one is to provide scaffolding, that means modeling to optimize students' learning. They will be able to understand better when the teacher is involved and models, what the teacher is trying to show, that this is what is happening and all that. There's some form of instructor that is trying to tell and provide this information. Back to Shafika.
Okay, thank you, Sharanya. And I am presenting about the assessment of this idea on students' learning freedom. In general, assessment is instrumental in teaching a learning process, where teachers invest most of their times in assessment activities, and it provides useful feedback to both teachers and students about learning process. And assessment is considered as powerful tools to improve student efficiency in learning. And basically, there are 3 purposes of assessment, which is assessment for learning, assessment as learning, and assessment of learning. Assessment for and as learning is also known as formative assessment. The purpose of assessment for learning is to assess students' progress and learning needs in relation to curricular outcome. And as for assessment as learning is to assess each student's thinking about his learning, strategies he used to support or challenge the learning, and mechanism he used to adjust and advance his learning. And the last purpose of assessment is summative assessment, which is its purpose is to assess the extent to which students can apply key concepts, knowledge, skills, attitudes, which is related to curricular outcomes. And these are 2 forms of assessment. There are 2 forms, which is traditional and alternative. Traditional assessment is often used in schools, such as multiple choice tests, true false tests, fill in the blanks, matching exercise. And in alternative assessment, it is teachers assign students to do projects or portfolios or general writings, computer simulation, and etc. And it is based on constructivist view, like Sharanya has explained earlier, which is use constructivism theory, whereby student, text, and context will impact the learning outcomes. And this alternative assessment is compatible with the idea of students' learning freedom because it considers students' cognitive structuring, progress, and comprehension. Okay, that's all from me. Now I will pass to Jumiliza for the expected implication um, of the idea of students' learning freedom. Okay.
Thank you, Shafika. Okay, I will continue about expected implication of the idea of students' learning freedom. Okay, we can conclude that the employment of students' learning freedom that considers students prefer learning style and their intellectual abilities, along with brain-based learning model as an innovative teaching approach and strategy is seemingly able to enhance students' comprehension in learning a concept of a subject matter, especially science. Okay, so when students are given the freedom to learn with their preferred learning style, be it visual, auditory, reading or writing, or bodily kinesthetic, this will create a more focused and fast learning environment because students do something that suits their internal characteristics. Next, students become effective problem solver. Okay, the more successful a person in solving the problem that he or she is facing, the more control he or she will take over his or her own life. Okay, so the last is in a classroom may also indirectly impact the teachers involved. Okay, the teachers involved are also indirectly training themselves to become creative, innovative, flexible person, meaning that they know how to plan and sequence their lesson plans in accordance to their students' learning preference. Okay. And plus, teachers may also have various options of means to assess students' understanding and skill, not relying on paper and pencil test only. Okay. However, okay, teacher may be facing some complex challenge in order to implement this idea. Okay. For example, they have to be open to learn something new. Okay. Due to current technology advancement in order to fit with their students' learning preference and inclination. Okay. Teacher also will be facing some problems with students who have various attitudes towards schools and learning. Okay, for instance, some of them may be thinking that attending school is a waste of time as they can retrieve information by simply searching them via World Wide Web, okay, www. So this matter has to be overcome by teacher as well as, okay, parents in encouraging and motivating their students and children to have a positive attitude toward formal learning. Okay, so next, the conclusion. Okay, the difference in students' learning style preference are considered as one of the important elements in teaching and learning process. Students are more engaged and learn best when they are given a variety of options and ways to demonstrate their knowledge and skills, which also help teachers to assess students' learning more accurately. And then students have a set of ideas and experience that shape their cognitive structure of their environment. Therefore, teachers should take into account their existing cognitive structure. Okay. A good strategic student must know and understand how to identify their learning goal, integrate their learning styles, apply proper skills, and be self-regulated to produce best result resulting from meaningful learning. Okay, the implementation of brain-based learning (BBL) model inside a classroom by teachers is perhaps one of the best way to facilitate students' thinking, to think creatively and flexibly, as well as providing teachers with range of choice to assess their student effectively and efficiently. Okay, in short, learning is not only about adding knowledge and recalling the information learned, but learning should enable students to master a concept of subject matter and able to apply it in real life. Okay, that's all from us. Thank you. Bye.